You know, Elder, it is so fascinating when we read this book and we experience what the book says. Because I've had brothers that come up here, got so excited about this when they heard this truth, went home, tried to talk to it with their spouses, and boy, and it was just like they never returned. It's like because immediately. Because she didn't accept it, they felt so bad and they just left it alone.
Yeah.
So it's like they say, how Satan immediately see how you happy with it, and he sends someone right along to snatch it right from you.
Well, these brothers that hear this word, but the wife don't want to hear, they're married to black women, right? And black women run the household. That means if she don't want to hear it, he can't hear it either. If he wants to maintain peace in that household, he has to submit himself to his wife. That goes totally against what's written in the Bible.
Truly.
The man is supposed to be the head of the household, not the woman.
That's
But he has to get her permission or get her okay
Right.
to hear Yahweh's word, to hear salvation, right? If she don't want to hear salvation, he can't hear salvation. All because he wants to maintain peace in the household.
Yeah.
So he has to submit himself to the law of his wife. See what I'm saying? But this is a black woman now. Keep this in mind. These are not white women or Asian women or African women. These are purely American black women, and this is how they roll. That's why I warn people all the time, do not marry American black women, because you cannot rule your household with an American black woman, because first of all, she's got a better job than you, and she may even have a career. If she has a career, then your marriage is in trouble anyway. So if at all possible, we recommend, if you got to get married, marry a Hebrew woman that fears Yahweh and wants to be a wife. A black woman does not know how to be a wife, but I don't want to go too far with that. But the point is that this man has lost his salvation because of his wife. Isn't that what happened with Adam and Eve?
That's right.
Right? Adam told his wife not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Satan comes along in the form of a serpent and convinces her not to listen to her husband, listen to the serpent. And so look what happened. It brought death all over the world, and Satan ruling the world now. So same thing happened with your partner. He's listening to his wife, and he's missing out on his salvation, right? Missing out on how to live a righteous and a good life, how to be a good man. She doesn't want that. That means she's lost control over her husband. And she must maintain control of her husband because she's a black woman.
Yeah. But they're not understanding even what they have in the household, or even the things that she's achieved to get to. That is all because of the priest in the household.
That's right. The blessings come through the head of the household, the priest of the household, but they don't see life like that. More than likely, black women are Christians, black American women are Christians, so in Christianity, black women are equal to the man. But that's why you can't find Christianity in the Bible nowhere.
That's right.
That's something entirely made up by white people. And so black people think that that's the truth, that the Bible is a Christian Bible, but a Christian book, but it's not. It's nothing about Christianity. And none of the values of Christians can be found in the Bible because, well, let me say black Christians, right? White Christians, they have a law unto themselves,
right?
But there's nothing in here that says Christians are going to be saved at all. But with, and that's the sad thing about black people. If your friend heard the word, you plant that seed in him, right? Well, he never showed up, though, did he? Did he ever show up?
He came. We came to Shabbat.
All right. But he ain't here now, is he?
No,
Many are called, but few are chosen.
That's right.
So it just goes right back to the parable in chapter 13 of Matthew, that they hear the word, but eventually the ways of the world become more important than the word of the kingdom of heaven, his salvation to eternal life. So he chooses the ways of the world, and his wife represents the ways of the world. So he must be obedient to his wife.
Because, you know, even in verse 22, Elder, when he was reading, it says, also that receiveth seed among the thorns is he that hears the word, and the cares of the world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word and become unfruitful. Had brothers come up in here, was excited, even received their baptism, got busy working them jobs, and yes, it took them right back out to the world.
Right. It wasn't meant for them. They had the spirit for a minute, but according to the Ecclesiastes, he who has authority over it, the spirit doesn't have the power to retain the spirit.
Spirit. That's right.
So Yahweh brought them up here for a purpose. So when the judgment comes, they can't say they never heard this before. Right? They heard it and they turned their back against it. We don't force this on nobody.
That's right.
The Mashiach did not force his doctrine on anybody. When he sent his disciples out to preach the gospel of the kingdom, he said, if they don't accept you, not to dust off your feet.
Keep it moving.
Right? And keep moving. Right? He didn't tell them to get mad at them. He said, just not to dust off your feet and move on, because it's not meant for them. So that means that a lot of black people are going to die, because when people like you and I go and speak this word to them, plant that seed, they show up, and then they don't stay. That means that this was not meant for them. And I doubt. And you may say, well, maybe they went to another Hebrew Israelite camp. I doubt that.
Neither one of these are.
Most Hebrew Israelites camp don't call on a Christian God, and they don't keep the Christian holidays. So they're going back to their traditions of their fathers, keeping Christian holidays, which again you cannot find in the Bible nowhere. So we see them come and we see them go, right? But those that stick and stay, those are the ones that Yahweh want to hear this word. Those married brothers that's married to black women, they can't hear the word. And sometimes, like you say, brothers come up in here, they do works, but after a while, they leave the works. But those works were just for the edification of the body, right? Yahweh can always replace anybody he sends up in here as far as works is concerned.
That's true.
So we don't look at it that way as far as your works are burned up, because, see, that means just if Yahweh wants you to do those works, he will find someone to take your place to do those works, right? Let me read something else here to let you know what it says here about men are called, but few are chosen, that there's only going to be a remnant of the children of Israel saved from the destruction of the world governmental system of Yahweh's wrath being poured upon the wicked. So I'm going to take you up into Isaiah chapter 10, and that's again part of the Bible that black people is against Christian law, if you want to call it Christian law, against Christianity for black people to read, even though white people read the Old Testament all the time. This is in Isaiah chapter 10, and I'm going to pick this up at verse 20. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel, and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob, shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty Elohim.
Praise Yah.
For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decree shall overflow with righteousness. For the Adonai Elohim, for Yahweh Elohim of hosts, shall make a consumption even determined in the midst of all the land. Well, people, I mean, the word consumption doesn't really ring a bell to a lot of folks.
Right.
But he's talking about killing off a whole bunch of people. A lot of folks are going to die when he says, I'm going to consume them, just like he said in the wilderness in the book of Exodus and Numbers. Told Moses, stand aside while I consume these people.
Right.
Well, that's talking about destroying his people, right? Same thing here. A lot of black folks are going to die because they refuse to be obedient to the book and the words in this book. Yahweh did not preserve the Bible for white people or anybody else. He preserved it for his own people, the children of Israel, just like we read earlier today when that woman sought the Mashiach to cast the devil out of her daughter.
Right.
He told her, I am not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. This same book is saying the same thing. This is meant just for us, not for Christians, not for Muslims. This is just meant for us. Let me take you somewhere else now. This is the Old Testament, right? Let's go to the New Testament, and let's look at what Paul said. See, that's their boy, right?
Paul didn't tell him that, did he?
Well, we're going to see. We're going to see what Paul said, because Paul supposed to brought them Christianity in the first place.
We're going to Romans.
Romans chapter 9. I'm just going to read one verse out of here. that verse 27. Now, remember what we just read in Isaiah, right?
The remnant, yep.
The remnant going to be saved. Now, let's see what Paul said. It says, verse 27. It says also, cry concerning Israel, though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved. He's saying the same thing Isaiah said in the Old Testament. Paul is saying it in the New Testament. So what does that tell you? Paul knew what the law and the prophets were saying. But most Christians think that Paul brought a new religion to the Gentiles for them to practice something called Christianity. That does not sound like Christianity when it says that a remnant of Israel is going to be saved. It didn't say a remnant of Christians is going to be saved. It never said that. He never said that Christians are really Israelites. Paul never says this, right? But I've been noticing lately that a lot of Christians starting to see this book too. They say, "Well, we must be Israel." They're actually claiming to be Israel. Remember I told you earlier about the Queen of England, saying that she's descended from Abraham and King David. That she is, white people are supposed to rule the world because they're descended from King David. So they got the rock of Jacob, Jacob, sitting under the throne that the queen sits on. When you get a chance, you check that out. That they got a big boulder that with a throne sitting on top of the boulder, saying that that's the rock of Jacob that he slept on at that night, right? And saw the ladder, right? Reaching up into heaven. Well, that they got the rock, and the queen sits on that rock. So they are entitled to rule the world.
Y'all say we will follow your foolish people.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the curses, the prophecies against the children of Israel, that we'll be ruled over by foolish people. And so that's what. But they take it so seriously. Because you look at, like I mentioned before, the Queen of England is the richest woman on earth. And therefore, if she believes the book, and she's the richest woman on earth, then why don't other black people read the book? They've read the book and came to their own conclusions that they must be the people. Why come black folks can't read the same book? Because when you talk about they're the descendants of Abraham and David, well, that's in the Old Testament. So the white people, the Queen of England, reads the Old Testament, and it's the richest woman on earth, but black people say, no, we ain't supposed to read that.
And that's why they can take our inheritance, because they tell us not to read, and we do that.
Yeah.
Just like they tell us, well, we don't need to know about our history. That stuff in the past. Let it go. Why don't we only our people say that to among each other, not know where you come, what we don't understand where we come from, and we sure don't know where we're going, because we off going to heaven when we die.
Well, you know where I put that to. That's tap water, fried chicken, and Coke 45. Let me go to Matthew chapter 7, my brother.
All right.
Because it's frustrating dealing with black folks, because black folks don't want to be told the truth, and so they brush you aside when you tell them the truth. What's written in the book it ain't your truth. You tell them what the book says. They got a problem with you telling them what the book says. What did they tell you? That's your opinion, right? Well, their argument is not with us. It's with what's written.
It's in the book.
Right, because they've never been taught these things. They've been taught by them lying preachers up in that pulpit and giving them tithes to the same lying preachers. They pay to be lied to.
Yep.
Right? So you don't have to pay nothing here. And we tell you the truth. Well, let's read. This is in Matthew chapter 7.